All right, wanted to make a quick video on a couple faults I'm seeing on the river these days. One of which is for the circle spay, we need to make sure that if we're casting out there, we don't want our anchor back there, okay? We want our anchor right there, okay? So to get that on the circle cast, I'm gonna circle my rod tip towards the bank. So I'm gonna lift, circle, and end up here, so my anchor ends up closer to me and on all the way downstream. So then I can circle and cast, okay? So the wrong way is my anchor's way down there now. The correct way is, okay, now my anchor's right there, I can cast. There's the other thing. The other thing is, make sure with your rod tip, you're climbing the golden staircase. And there's a lady on Instagram, she's an instructor, a great caster, and I think that's a great description of what we want our rod tip to do. We want it to start low and come up a spiral, however spiral staircases go. We want it to go up, around, and up again, okay? So that's what we want to do. So if you're doing a circle C, and you get your anchor back here, and then you don't go up the spiral staircase, but you go back and out, then it all sticks on the water. So we want to get our anchor right, okay, right there. And then we want to go from low to high, up, 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 and cast, okay? Rod tip needs to go from low to high. Always high after we cross our shoulder. So the tendency, and I do this too, the tendency is to come around and be pretty good to here, and then tip the rod tip down a little and throw our D-loop in the water. Okay, it's easy to go set the anchor and then sweep around and then cast like that. What we need to do is go up, 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 forward, and don't resist the urge to rear back and cast. Okay, so there's my anchor. Now we're going to go up, 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 and cast. Getting the bottom leg of that D-loop off the water is super important. Super important for getting a nice cast. And the third thing is blowing your anchor. And there was a guy, I was casting across from a river from a guy who had a beautiful double spay. A little bit longer Skagit head, and he was just had great anchor placement, come around, nice, beautiful arc. He was doing everything right, but every time he got to right about here, he'd blow his anchor out of the water on the sweep, and it just would barely touch down or touch and fly or wouldn't touch down at all, and then he'd cast. And some of his casts were better than others. A few times he didn't blow the anchor, or maybe once, but he just did it time after time after time, and he had such great bones for a good cast, but he was just blowing that anchor. And when you blow the anchor, you can see you get a wiggly, it looks like you're going to get a good cast, and it goes about 4/5 of the way out, and then you get that wiggly end of the fly line. So it's so important, especially if you're using a Skagit head, you know, with a floating tip or a sink tip or anything. It's really important to really watch the power when you're sweeping. We need to really stay compact, come around, and cast. Too many people are peeling the line and just throwing it backwards out of the water. It's like not even landing. Okay, the reason that one flew is because it was a nice overhead cast. But when we blow our anchor, and I've blown plenty this week, picking lines out of the flies out of the trees. You want to keep it slow and smooth and cast. You know, it's way better. A Skagit head can dig out a sunk leader and fly or sink tip. They're powerful. It's better to err on the side of too much anchor than not enough if your rod tip is going up. You know, you're even a Steelhead or Skagit head with a floating tip will dig out so much crappy anchor wiggling around in the water if you don't get it perfect, that I'd way rather have too much anchor and be able to sweep around and, okay? I had a lot of line anchoring that cast, and I still blew the anchor, so I can just, okay? I'm not waiting for the D-loop behind me. I'm just peeling, and as soon as I'm done peeling, I go around the corner and cast. And that is better than blowing your anchor. That is better than your anchor never even touching down. It's way easier to go, even if you have a Skagit line and a sink tip and a heavy fly, and you sink your anchor too deep, you can just hear it come out of the water. It just goes blurr. Okay. Still pop the anchor out of the water, but the idea is don't blow your anchor. Make sure you're coming around up and smooth. Rod tip goes up, especially when it passes your shoulder. And there's no need to go crazy hard on the peel. Don't just, you can accelerate on the peel a little bit. Okay, you can just start a little slow, cast like that. But if you start fast, too suddenly, you're going to have way too much D-loop going around too fast. Anchor's just going to blow out right when it should be sinking in or setting in. So that is what I would say. That is what I would say for improving your casting if you're going to be casting for summer steelhead.